let me kind of give you a little bit of what's going on in the background when it comes to the Big 12. And there's times because we do a show, and yes, because this has gone very national as well, I always try to track down pretty much everything that's sent my way, try to double check, due diligence, whatever. This is not me reporting facts. This is me trying to give you a little background on some of the things that have come up the last couple of months, or at least the last couple of weeks when it comes to the Big 12 and the four teams, Brigham Young, Houston, UCF, and Cincinnati. One of the issues that everyone has brought up is the Sunday scheduling conflict. Being told that the commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, has told Brigham Young that will not be a problem. They will work around that. Also, this is all sports. It's not just sports like basketball and football. It's everything top to bottom. The timeline that the teams would love to join, and somebody brought this up earlier, is July 1st of 2023. Now, I don't know what that means when it comes to what Texas and Oklahoma do, who right now are saying all the right things after the initial wow by saying that they expect to come run through 24 and 25. I think most of us realize that most likely it may never get to that point, and if it does, that's fantastic for them. But I have a feeling that probably isn't the case. One of the other notes that's interesting to me is the operating on principle. All votes need to be unanimous. Now, I'm being told that does not include Texas and Oklahoma. There's conflicting reports there. We're expecting to get Mack Rhodes, a Baylor director of athletics, tomorrow. First time in a long time. And of course, that plus the grant of rights, if you add, how does it affect Texas, Oklahoma, et cetera, remains to be seen. How about this? If, in fact, you go with 12 members, including the new 4, but not including what is Texas and OU, the network money will be somewhere below $25 million. Now, again, that's a drop, but that does not include the money from the Big 12 championship game in football, NCAA, what's the word for basketball? What do you call those, Paul? You get I had the word, credits for what you do with the NCAA tournament when it comes to the Big 12. It does not include bowl money that will be split up as well among some of the other. Each school needs to come up with their own type of way to create third-tier rights as well. So there's $25 million, a little bit less, based on 12 members. But then again, there are other monies involved that adds to that total. Now, you hear about how Texas, or maybe Texas and Oklahoma, were talking to ESPN or the Big 12 and that they did not want to extend. I'll be interested to see what happens here. I'm not so sure that's true. I'm not so sure ESPN didn't have the Big 12 extended for 12 years and it was just rejected. It would not have been $28 million to $35 million to $40 million or whatever, but I'm not so sure the ESPN was not ready to go in with the Big 12 the way it is now with the 10 teams, including Texas and Oklahoma. And what might have chased them off was the fact that ESPN was just not going to have too much of an increment each year. That it would be very slow and methodical. It would not be chunks of money to catch up with the Big Ten and or the SEC. Now, I don't know. We keep hearing about ESPN. Not sure what CBS Sports might have to do with all this, or maybe a combination of CBS and Fox.
Well, I mean, CBS has lost their the big main thing they had, which was the SEC.
But they're not going to hang their hat on the Big 12.
No, but they
might still want to do some college football outside of what else they're doing.
Yeah, and Fox does not have a major streaming presence. They have one. I mean, they have the Fox Sports app, but they're not. I mean, how often do you hear that really pushed? But CBS is a major streaming presence with Paramount Plus. So maybe that company wants to get involved in that. I wonder if I'm the Big 12. I'm taking, obviously, and everybody would, but all callers on this point.
If in fact you go beyond, and we mentioned this earlier, if you go beyond the 4 teams being added, if you went 5 and 6 with either direction, it would be Boise State and most likely Memphis. There are still many teams, and some of them we've discussed, not ad nauseum because that sounds negative, but we've discussed them many, many times, who might be of interest. And guess who might have jumped into the fray as at least someone because of maybe one game with Oklahoma? Tulane?
New Orleans. Louisiana, they got a lot of talent down in Louisiana. LSU's feasted off of it for years. Texas and A&M both have gone down there and picked up prospects. I mean, shoot, everybody in the country at some point or another probably gone down to Louisiana to get a player. They are, what is it? What's the phrase? Like per capita?
Yeah,
I guess they
Louisiana,
are.
yep.
They're the most loaded, and I think Georgia's right there as well. I see that from the New Orleans side of things. I'm not sure if, for me personally, but I'm not working with all the information these guys are working with, obviously. I'm going off of like what I think would be cool. They're going off of what makes the most sense, but that is interesting. Tulane's not somebody I would probably have in my next 2 or 3 for certain. I don't even know if they'd be in my next 4, but, they can't be too far outside of that. There's only so many teams, that are realistic, that are big enough that could possibly do it, but that would be interesting. I don't know.
Now, with the teams that are a part of the AAC, because there's a 27-month, I think it is, exit timeline, and there's fees, that whatever those fees are, those teams, this is something that could be of interest here. The Big 12 wants this to happen, obviously, and so do these 4 teams, but let's look at the 3 AAC teams. Big 12 says, we're going to pay your exit fees. This is a scenario. This is not me reporting facts, but this is something that is very much in play. We're going to pay your exit fees and be done with it. And we'll then take that out of the first 3 years of you're a part of the Big 12. Like it could be 50% and then 25%, or any kind of order that way. So that's one of the things about exit fees for schools that don't have a chunk of money, just no matter who your boosters and donors are. So that could be something the Big 12 does as well.
And their exit fee is $10 million, correct?
I don't know what the exact figure is.
I think it's something. I think it's been.
I want to say the last time when UConn tried to leave, it was about 17. I know they negotiated that down, but I'm not sure what it would be right off the top of my head for Houston right now.
I think it's $10 million if you give the proper. I tell you, it's like if it was 17 for UConn, who wanted to go tomorrow. But I think if it's 10, if you have some time.
One of the other things that could be in play here is that the AAC's grant of rights is with who? ESPN? Mm-hmm. And so ESPN, there's still that whatever we don't know, maybe we think we do, Bowlesby, ESPN, all of that, the cease and desist, perhaps that's also worked into this, and that perhaps instead of a 27-month exit, perhaps it can only be 20. Again, those are just possibilities. A lot of this stuff, this is like molding clay into a pot that could be part of the background of the Big 12 and the teams that they're looking at.
Yeah, I'm trying to find exactly, but I believe I saw a good source that said, what was that, the 27 months notice and then a $10 million buyout fee. You could join by 2023 if you started to execute that right now, which would line up with, previous reports of those teams joining in 2 seasons. You'd have 1 to 2 seasons, actually, of a 12-team league. Or no, you'd have a 14-team league with Texas and Oklahoma for like 1 or 2 runs, and then they would go off, and then you'd go back to your 12-team, and then possibly, that's when you revisit the expansion of adding a Tulane or a SMU or a whoever else is in the mix at that point. So that would line up and make some sense.
Yeah, so that's something. Now, just somebody just on the chat room, Jay Bird. No, it was not Jay Bird. Who was it? Let's see here. I'm trying to respond. Sooner JJ had a chat where he asked me, the Big 12 wants to get the expanded teams ASAP, but want to keep Oklahoma and Texas to leave. Does that not sound hypocritical? I don't know. I don't know whoever has said that they want Texas and Oklahoma to leave. Financially, they would benefit from that if Texas and Oklahoma left early because of some sort of penalties or payout. But I haven't reported that. I never said that. I would think everybody involved would like to get to that point sooner rather than later.
Well, I mean, just reading word for word, I'm sure he meant something different, but it doesn't really make – the Big 12 wants to get the expanded teams ASAP, but want to keep OU Texas to leave. That does – like,
well,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, want to –
I think they want to keep them until they get their freaking money. Yeah. Like, if you want to leave, guess what? Oklahoma and Texas can leave. Pay the $80 million and see you down the road. I mean, I think that's what they're holding on to. It's not of like – let's hold Oklahoma and Texas hostage. They're under contract for 4 more seasons. They are the cash cows. We're not going to boot them out and lose money. That'd be stupid. So, yeah, I mean, they're going to hold them until the contract runs out, or Texas and Oklahoma pay the money. But in the meantime, they've got to establish their future. They can't turn around and now be on, like, if they had let Texas and Oklahoma dictate this thing and waited for them to make a decision before expanding, it would have totally bottomed out the conference because others would have swooped in ahead of them. So you can't wait 4 years to do it. This is really your only choices. Y'all play out your contract or pay money, and everybody else is going to start coming into the fold, and there may be some cross sections, but that only lasts about a season or so. And I mean, it makes sense to me. If OU and Texas don't want to do that, then there is that option of writing a big fat check.
Sooner, JJ, did you forget me already? Gotcha. They want the money. No question.
That's absolutely, JJ.
But
that's
no
what they
one,
want.
the Big 12 could never go on record as saying that, hey, we want them out. They have to play the game just like Texas and Oklahoma are playing that legal game by saying that they intend to leave after 24-25.
Yeah, I got you now, JJ.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
Thanks for the chat, JJ. Appreciate that. We're now